happening on the border today is intentional.
We have people in the United States of America that breed children in order to sell them.
Our own government is facilitating the absolute destruction of the American immigration system, and I can prove it point by point. I'm unafraid to speak the truth. This is just data-driven and experience-driven.
It was USAID that I fear much more than the CIA, because the USAID is how CIA gets shit done.
USAID is clearly in the job of trying to bring about regime change. It has secret bank accounts, shell companies.
USAID gets $50 billion a year in U.S. taxpayer money. That's a larger overt fund than the CIA has.
USAID perhaps is the new CIA.
Have we ever tried to meddle in other countries' elections?
Oh, probably.
This is not just about over there. This is about here.
They have a process, a system by which they destroy other nations, and they use that same process and system in order to destroy the United States.
It's a plot against our own people. So what is USAID? When people hear the name USAID, they focus on aid. They focus on thinking like it's humanitarian work. But aid is not actually in the name of USAID. USAID stands for the United States Agency for International Development, not aid. It's not a charity. And international development is simply capacity building. It is local and regional capacity building done across the whole world, i.e. internationally. The primal id in USAID, international development, is about capacity building of assets that can be used by either the Pentagon, the State Department, or the CIA for their own activities. So if you're the Secretary of State and you were asked by the National Security Council or the President to do something in a different country, overthrow their government, stop the passage of a bill in a foreign country's legislature, how would you do that? And the first thing that I said is you would look at the assets that already exist in the country. Do we need new assets in addition to the ones that we currently have, or are the existing assets, can they achieve this simply by giving them enough money, giving them enough resources, giving them enough training, giving them enough support? One of the main ways that capacity building would be financed would be through USAID.
Ms. Powers, did USAID fund coronavirus research in Wuhan, China?
We did not fund gain-of-function research,
That's not the question.
As you know.
The question is, did you fund coronavirus research in Wuhan, China?
Before my time, there was the PREDICT program with which you're familiar, which ended in China in 2019.
Yeah, this is a $200 million program, and the GAO has also identified that some of these grants went directly to the Wuhan Institute of Virology, where there is a suspicion that the lab leak began the pandemic. Has USAID awarded funds to the Academy of Military Medical Sciences in China?
Not to my knowledge, but I'd have to get
I think the answer is once again yes. GAO has found that there have been subawards of NIH money as probably as well as USAID money that went to the Academy of not just medical research, military medical research in China. Now,
this is what Democrats are fighting to save. $20 million for Iraqi Sesame Street, $2 million for Moroccan pottery classes, $11 million to tell Vietnam to stop burning trash. $27 million to give gift bags to illegals before we deport them. Millions to help Afghanis grow crops instead of opium. That program was such a success that opium production doubled. We also gave Afghanistan $300 million to build diesel fuel power plants, but they couldn't use them because diesel was too expensive. $200 million on a dam that was too unsafe to ever be used. We could have used that dam in California. $250 million on a road that was never used. We literally built a road to nowhere. Oh, and we gave Syrians $9 million for humanitarian aid, but someone messed up and it went to Al-Qaeda. $1 million for bat research in Wuhan. That equates to $1 million for each dead American. USAID was funding Fashion Week in Paris. France isn't even paying its NATO dues, and we're paying for their Fashion Week. USAID's a $40 billion deep state social justice slush fund.
Welcome to Truth with J.J. Carrell. Is that sobering or what? You need more evidence? How much more evidence do you need that the federal government is corrupt to the core and they're evil? Let's understand what you just saw there. You have an explanation of what USAID is. It's not aid. It's Agency for International Development, meaning all of that money should be going out. What else has USAID done? USAID paid $8 million to Politico, the news organization, the domestic news organization, $8 million. Why? Politico going to write bad articles about President Biden when they're receiving enough money for the whole payroll? They missed payroll last week. Do you know that? Why? Because they have no money. The federal government was propping up a propaganda arm. We laugh at Russia, at their news organization, Pravda. Politico is Pravda. Our own government was propagandizing us. Where did those 30 million illegal aliens come from? How did they get here? From across the globe. How did they get here? Well, they got there because the USAID was paying the NGOs billions of dollars, the international NGOs. Our government was funding our demise. I just saw a post right before I came on Just the News, justthenews.com. The great John Solomon's website. Do you know that in the last several years we've given George Soros's Open Society over $260 million? The federal government gave George Soros, the man that despises America, a multi-billionaire, one of the richest men on planet Earth, gave him over $250 million to use against the United States of America. Have you begun to even connect the dots? Do you even see the picture I'm looking at? Are we in the same world? Your government, no matter how much you try to fight me on it or you feel uncomfortable, you must understand our government is the enemy, period. Marco Rubio, the new Secretary of State, came out today and he said USAID, the department, only needs 294 workers. Okay. How many workers are employed by USAID right now? 14,000. I don't even think that's like 2%. Yeah, it's about a little under 2%. Did you hear what Rand Paul said? Ma'am, did you spend the money, $200 million, to create the coronavirus in Wuhan? Well, no, sir, of course not. That was stopped in 2019. Oh, really? You funded it. America funded a pandemic and then enriched pharmaceutical companies to billions, maybe $1 trillion, destroyed trillions of dollars of wealth, redistributed it to major corporations and shut down mom and pops. Changed our culture completely. How can anybody look at our government and not be repulsed? You see, we knew for a while that we were meddling in foreign nations, upending legal, legitimate governments, putting our puppets in it. And we laughed and said, oh, look at us, we're so powerful. Never once did we say, wow, what if that ever turned back on us? What if our own government did that to us? For the last 4 years, our federal government was crushing America through outside forces that we were funding. And why do the Dems want USAID? Yes, they are grotesquely stupid. Maxine Waters with her stupid wig and her eyebrows that look like she's Bozo the Clown, with her stupid galls that she has, the way she talks. And then the guy that has the pimp hand, Al Green. Then all the other stiff, stupid white senators trying to act as if they got rhythm, dancing, shouting. They don't even know what they're talking about. Why do they care so much? They sit there and lie to you and say, well, democracy's at risk and America's sovereignty's at risk. And hold on. USAID is an international development arm of our government. It has nothing to do with America in America. Oh, it does have to do with everything in America because you Democrats are getting wealthy. There's even articles coming out that guess who? Lindsey Graham has his hand in the cookie jar too, because the Republican Party was getting over $160 million from USAID. Why would our political parties be receiving money from our federal government? What Donald Trump is doing right now is he is laying the groundwork, I believe, for a mass arrest. I'm not talking 5, 10, I'm talking hundreds, maybe thousands of people. And I got to give this man credit. I was on a podcast this morning called The Alpha Warrior. Great guy. Almost was a January 6er. He was within weeks, I think, of going to court and having to surrender. Former law enforcement guy. Credible guy. Veteran. Iraq war. Veteran. Young guy. At least I think they're young. He's about my age or a little younger. And he said to me, we were talking about this, about the arrest. And I said, I need it to happen. And he says, well, JJ, Trump can't make arrests now until he has a foothold in the DOJ, meaning his people are there. Kash Patel's there, Pam Bondi. And the pieces are getting there. But he cannot make a move while you have actors in there, acting FBI, acting DOJ, acting blah, 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 because the administrative state is corrupt. It has all the bad actors in it. But I believe once they get all those pieces in place, he has no choice but to go arrest people. That's it. How can he, through the people he put in positions of power, as they're uncovering the gross mismanagement, the theft of our treasury, and not have anybody arrested? He's going to have to. He's going to have to arrest hundreds, if not thousands of people. And I want them all trumped up on abuse under the color of authority and treason where applicable. And I want them tried. I want them tried fast. And if found guilty, I want them put to death. And I want the world to see it. I want it pay-per-view. As an example, never, ever to try to destroy America again. USAID is a boondoggle, and we are just beginning. Elon Musk is just beginning with his team of rooting out the fraud. Can you imagine what we're going to find out in another week? Understand, we have only been at this for 2 weeks and 3 days. Not 2 years, not 2 months. 2 weeks and 3 days. Can you imagine when we fully grasp what has been going on in this nation for decades? It is going to be a shock to your system. I call it the Great Awakening. And then there's going to be a great reckoning. Because when we all awake and we all see what we have to see, and it's right in front of us, we are going to all demand answers. We're going to demand heads on pikes. We are. I want them all arrested. All of them. Before I go to my next guest, talk about a subject I love talking about outside of justice, that's fatherhood. being a dad. Masculinity. Man, do we need masculinity more than ever. Why is Trump so powerful? Because he's so masculine. People desire it. We've been told it's bad for 4 years. It's not bad. It is absolutely what has been missing. How do you feel as America? You feel proud now that you have an alpha in there? Or do you want to go back to the very, very impotent, cowardly, bumbling old grandpa that has dementia? I'd like everyone to please go to our sponsors, visit their website, see what they want, what they have. I use everything I promote. patriotsmade.com/JJ, patriotsmade/JJ. Why do I promote this? Well, my favorite store is Costco. Absolutely woke. Why would I spend my money there now? Why would I go to Johnson & Johnson's products, Pfizer, all of them? They all have metals in their lotions. They have plastics in their food and water. Why would I pay money to organizations that are poisoning me and my family? Why would I pay money to organizations that hate me, that are completely 180 degrees from what I believe in, and then mock me, and then take my money that I give them and give to causes that I despise? Planned Parenthood, Black Lives Matter, on and on and on. Why would I do that? Because I never had an alternative. That's why. Now I do. I don't go and spend money at patriotsmade.com extra. I just take the money that I would spend at a Costco or a Walmart, and then I go and I use that money and I get way more, because everything's made in America. Everything is, quote, green. I put lotion on my arms or my legs or my face. They don't have metals in it. They don't have poisons. I spray cleaner on my countertop. I don't have toxins. And there's every product you can imagine. There's over 400 of them. One I use, and one's connected to Patriots Made, is Freedom Steaks Now. Freedom Steaks, plural, with an S, now.com/JJ. I go to Costco and buy my meat. It's insanely expensive. And I don't know if there's mRNA pushed in there. I don't know if there's antibiotics. I don't know if there's steroids. I don't know what's in it. I don't know. That's the scary part. You do not know what you're getting. Go to patriotsmade.com/JJ. Let's start. There's a revolution going on where people are not giving money to people that hate us. We're going to fund us. We're going to patron Americans and patriots, not people that hate us. All right. I'm going to talk about a topic that I find fascinating. And I saw this article, and I want to preface this before I bring Doug Argo in and talk about, I call it the dad segment. And this title of this article that I found last night, I shared it with Doug, and it's from Dale Partridge. This was in 2022. It's about a 10-minute read, but it's worth every second of it. And this is titled The Masculinity of Christ in the Face of Effeminate Christianity. I saw that title. I was like, whoa. Okay, let me read this, because this is exactly what I believe. This is exactly what I believe. That the problem with masculinity not only is entertainment and everyone else demonized it, but our churches have feminized Christ, feminized God, and thus feminized the people that are attending Mass and church. And this was a powerful, powerful read. Can we bring Doug Argo in, please? Doug, how you doing, my man?
Hey, doing great, JJ. Great to have some time with you again. Been looking forward to it.
Hey, nice beard, my friend.
think it's my winter wool. We'll let it go for another month or so.
Okay. Hey, so I introduced this article, the Making Christ Effeminate, right? And then this author goes through and lists who God is, who Christ is, and that he's not effeminate. But I tie everything this author is saying to the not to the decrease in masculinity, but the evisceration of masculinity in our world. Tell me what you thought of this article that I sent you.
Well, I mean, it was a great read, first of all, and I shared it with everybody that's on my contact list. And Jay, he put so many things in perspective for me. Throughout my life, I think of the times where until you truly learn and understand who Christ is and what Christ went through, we don't understand the masculinity that's there. He did a great job of showing us times in his life, the things that he would do to demonstrate true masculinity, with being bold, with the braveness, with knowing what was fixing to happen, and him still willing to make that walk. And that was my favorite part. And I've made a clip of that, and I think I shared it with you, how, wow, this whole piece that he's written about is how Christ knew what was fixing to happen to him, but he was willing to go into it. That is more bravery. And I was trying to think of times in my life where have I even had any incident where I really felt like, my was in danger like that. You have, of course, with your job, with your profession, but I really haven't. And it really gave me another just great respect for our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And then what we're going to talk about with how the church has become that effeminate role. It's sad, but it's so true. And that's what the world wants. The world wants us to feel weak and insuperior when we should be. The Christian should be the superior being, just walking the face of the earth.
Well, I think it goes all the way back, and this author made a great point that the Romans, during that artistic age where the Romans took over Catholicism and became the epicenter of Christianity, well, the way they painted men back then in their art, so they painted Jesus very effeminate with rosy cheeks and very, very light-colored skin. Where you look at the Shroud of Turin and then all the computer workups of what Jesus would have looked like, Jesus didn't look like this soft, nice little, I want to go up and give you a hug kind of guy. He kind of looked at, when I look at the Shroud of Turin and I look at what Jesus really must have looked like, that was a dude, man. There was no...
I'm seeing a lean, facial structure, of a masculine looking man. I mean, the imagery they have come up with for that shroud, it's phenomenal. It really is.
It is. And the way that you could see him look at you. Like, I know I'm sure you follow The Chosen, right? You've seen the series.
We have.
Okay. I can't endorse anything more than that. I watch the clip sometimes, and it makes me very emotional when I watch it, because it's a great depiction of Jesus. And one of the things that sticks out at me all the time, Doug, is there's a moment, I think it was in season 4, where Jesus is coming to the point where he's about to go to Jerusalem. The end is beginning, right? He knows it is, and he's trying to teach his apostles, his disciples, this is what's going to happen. And there's a moment when he's trying to articulate this to Peter, and I think it was Andrew, and Peter looked at him and just says, I don't understand. And Jesus's face contorts, the actor's face contorts, and he's so angry. Like, how do you not understand what I'm telling you? And there are so many times in my life when I fail, I think of his picture of that face looking at me and so angry, saying, how many more times do you need to fail? I've told you to stop doing this, and you keep doing it. So my idea of a Jesus and a God that is this very effeminate, it's okay, JJ. Keep doing the same damn thing wrong over and over and over again. Keep sinning. Keep taking another step to hell. It's fine. I don't believe in that God. I believe in the God that has a very lean face, like he's a fighter. Like those pictures of Jesus he looks like, He's not the guy you want to physically get in an altercation with, right? Despite being God, he just doesn't look that way. He looks like a scrapper. But we have been lied to
because of all the other depictions that we have seen of him, like the things you've talked about. Think about that individual that when they look at you, think about our fathers. When they looked at us, they didn't have to say anything. They had a stern look. And you, like that moment you just shared there with Jesus, I'm thinking of also with Peter. Peter is the one man of the most faith. He steps out of the boat, JJ, and puts his foot in the water to walk to Jesus. And as he looks away and starts to sink, what does Jesus say to him? He says, "Oh, ye of little faith." I mean, that, to know that how much he has spent time with them and taught them, and they still lost faith in times of their life, but so Jesus was so bold in many ways, and we see that all throughout the scriptures. That's where we really have to take a deep dive and do that research and study on our own to truly get a true feeling of Jesus. In my church on Sunday nights, we've been doing a Bible study on the Gospel of John, and there's so much imagery there. And of course, Jesus taught, with parables, but also with just different metaphors and imagery, because it was what they were used to in their time frame. The sheep and being shepherds, the vine and being a vine dresser. And we can talk about that a little bit in depth later. But again, there's so many times we see Jesus being bold and making points that, and there's our problem in our churches today. Another thing, that article was out how we're not seeing men take their children, their families to church. The mom is the one doing it. The mothers are the ones showing more boldness and courage in their family. And that's the break of the mold of what God had planned for the family. As also in the article stated, Jesus is head of the church, as the man, the husband, is head of the household. Jesus gave his life for the church. We should give our life for our wife and our children. That is bold. That is a courage that we need to see more of in men in our society today.
Well, let's dive into this article, because the author lists 4 things that he found in Jesus's life that are specifically required for masculine traits, and that we need to, not from the sinful. I'm just talking about very narrow discussion of Jesus about his masculinity, and that he is the example that we need to follow to be a better man, a better husband, and a better father. Because at the end of the day, Doug, you strip away my money, you strip away my pension, you strip away my house, my clothes, and all that. I just want my wife and my son to love and respect me. That's it. Right. And if I can provide and protect, I have done my job in God's eyes. Now, the author says, and he gives four examples, and he says, Jesus was bold. Jesus was fearless. Jesus provided sacrificial love. And this is something I didn't even think about. I know about boldness. I know about fearlessness, and they're intertwined. And I understand about sacrificing. But I for whatever reason, this last one slipped me, and it was resolve. And this is what men, and the way he said, I want to give your take on this, but I want the audience to understand or articulate what he said. The author said, men like Jesus have to do things in their life that they agreed to, set their mind to, and they have to do it. You have to go to work because you have to pay the bills. You have to take care of your family. You have to protect and provide. Jesus knew. He knew that he was going to die on the cross. He knew that he was going to be inflicted of pain that we can't even fathom. At the worst grotesque movies ever, Passion of the Christ still didn't do justice to the pain that Jesus had inflicted on him. But he had the resolve that it doesn't matter. I have to do it. How many times in our lives, Doug, that we have done, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I don't want to get up. It's freezing cold. I don't want to go to work. I just want to lay in bed and be lazy. No. Get your ass up and go to work, because you have people that are depending on you. It's not about you. It's your resolve. Can you focus on that last piece? Do you agree with what the author is saying about Jesus and about men in that? Because that's the piece that's missing, Doug, in this world amongst men and fathers. No one has the resolve to do what they have to do.
And to me, here is the resolve. He brought out another point in that about, let's go back to the fearlessness and being fearful. To me, there's also that reverence piece that's missing. We do not see enough reverence to God's word. And he brought up the point of, church has become where, hey, it's just, let's make it a social affair. I can't remember the last preacher that stood at a podium wearing a suit and tie, and I know that, again, we don't have to have that to worship God, but we have law, reverence, peace. With that reverence is that fear of God, what God can do when he's ready to do it. One of my greatest examples of that all time is when Uzzah, they're carrying the ark. They didn't carry it like God totally instructed them to do. Uzzah was trying to do the right thing and what? Just touch it and steady the ark so it didn't fall. What did God do to Uzzah? He struck him dead on the spot, JJ. So in today's world, we don't see that. We don't see God's punishment right now. So that goes back to, do we truly understand heaven and hell? Do we truly believe that there is a heaven and that there is a hell? Those that do are going to be more reverent and do what needs to be done to follow what God expects us to do. And as fathers, as husbands, it is so vitally important that we have that resolve. And it goes back to our relationship with Christ. And like in the book of John, Christ is the true vine, but God is the vine dresser. Guess what a vine dresser does, JJ? If you're not producing fruits, what happens to that branch? It falls off, or you prune it. It needs to be cut out. God will do that to us. So people need to, once we have that fear, to make it fear is too strong, well, let's have a reverence to God. And with that reverence, it's like you and I had with our fathers, our earthly fathers. We revered them because we had full trust in them. We knew that they meant what they said. We need to believe in the scriptures. God is going to do what he says. And it's not in our time frame. And unfortunately, in our world today, we're so immediate. We have to have everything spontaneous. We don't realize sometimes that heavenly goal, to reach it, it's a daily process. And I love the way this author in here continually showed us that through Jesus' way of life, and then also the depictions of what a man needs to be doing. It was a wonderful article.
Well, you sent me a clip of a screenshot of it, and in where the article talks about fear, and I think fear is healthy. You and I had great reverence for our fathers as we became older men, and we saw, right, okay, there's a whole different, when a young man is growing up, you see your parents differently, especially your father, because you're like, oh my gosh, that guy, he fed me, clothed me. Now you know the magnitude, right, of that weight. He put a roof over my head. He was there at my games. He did all this stuff when other fathers didn't do that. So I'm very aware as I get older. But when I was younger, there was a healthy fear of my father. And it wasn't a physical fear, like he's going to beat me up. No, that it was a fear of disappointment. It was a fear of him looking at me in that way that God looked at Peter, of that almost disgust, almost like, I can't believe you, son. How could you do this? Right? I hated that. I never wanted it.
And he says, what's the point he says there? He says the fear is what? It comes from what? The love of the Lord, just like our love from our Father. Yes.
But he also says what
he peaks there.
Yeah, but he also says the fear of the Lord tends to take away all other fears. Now, I want to bring that down to us being a father, being a man, and what we dealt with our fathers. We didn't do certain things, Doug, because we knew our fathers would be disappointed, and we knew that there was a physical factor in that as well with both of our fathers. Right. That's missing in today's society. There is no fear of the alpha male in the house because, number one, the alpha male is not there. He's not physically present in the morning. And when you come home from school or when you come home from work, there's my dad. I know my dad's coming home at 6 o'clock, right? We used to be that way. Dad's coming home, mom's all upset. Oh, man, this is going to suck, right?
I'm in trouble,
but you're in trouble. But those days are gone, and there is so you have the Heavenly Father, you have Jesus that's setting the standard of what needs to happen in order to get to heaven. But there is the Father in the house. They're gone. There's no fear. You look at Black Americans, 75% illegitimacy, Hispanic Americans, 50%, whites, 25%. Why am I breaking down the race? Is because back in the 1960s, Moynihan said the black race is heading to a epidemic. And what was their percentage of illegitimacy? 25%. White Americans have crossed that threshold into an epidemic of fatherlessness that has devastated the Hispanic and the black communities. All of America is dealing with this.
It is. And that one thing we've talked about previously with the schools in our nation today is they've taken away that aspect of discipline. Call it the fatherly discipline or not. We cannot discipline students like we used to. You and I, we got a paddle to our bottom when we acted out. Guess what? Some boys today still need a paddle. Not everybody does. But when you take that one key factor away of consequence, the kid, he can continue to go and do what he's not supposed to do because he doesn't fear the consequences. And it goes back to us as Christians. If we don't fear the consequence of hell, we're not going to live righteously to try to reach heaven. So there's that correlation we've got to put together too.
I just think, I believe with my heart that if we are able to correct this deficit in America, this masculinity, the true measure of masculinity in fathers, if we could correct this problem, nothing else, everything else would just disappear, Doug.
Everything else takes care of itself. And thank goodness President Trump has finally started signing some things that I was raised a Democrat, Jay, you know that with my dad, I was raised Democrat, but we would not have gone for what the last 4 years allowed with the transgenders, with the way of taking away the manly rights and allowing men and women or boys and girls sports. I cannot for the life of me understand why any political party would think that that's the right thing to do. But it goes back to, this has been happening over several years, several decades of, we're going to take the masculine male out of the equation so our globalists can control everything. Because if we don't have the men to stand up, then the nation is weak.
You said it absolutely perfect. And I think before we end, we have to acknowledge this is real in America. Absolutely. And that is that Satan is roaming the earth. There is what you bring up, the point of transgender, boys playing girl sports, boys beating up girls, boys and girls having their genitalia ripped off as young kids and being totally destroyed, hormone blockers, LGBTQ, the transgender movement, the removal of the man. What did Satan have to do in order to attack and destroy the family? He had to attack and destroy the man first. Why? Because we were the protector, Doug. We're supposed to be the shield between that evil and our home. And we walked away from our home, and Satan was able just to walk in the front door.
And there's such a problem. And you're so right. And the problem is with our feminists out there, they have taken away and taken out of context the purpose of God's plan. Adam was first for a reason. Jesus, the Son, and then the disciples are all men. That's the leadership role of the church, and it should carry out throughout our lives. And the problem is, well, that was their culture. No, it wasn't the culture. It's God's plan, and we don't need to deviate from that plan. It doesn't take away from the role of the female. God has given us plenty of examples throughout the scriptures of the strong females that we have. And I'm so thankful my wife is one of those strong females, and so is yours. We have to have those strong females, yes, but we have to have more men to take the stand that you've been preaching in. I love all your segments on the alpha males. We have to have that. And that doesn't mean we're mean, we're cruel, and we're disrespectful to females, to children. It means that we are the ones willing to take the stand and be masculine, like the example God gave us with Jesus and with everything we can read and learn about in the scriptures. And that's where it's at, Jay. We have got to become Bible readers and influencers once again, know the scriptures, apply it to our life, and then we're able to share it with others.
I agree. And this author touched on one last thing that I want to talk about. And he talked about the masculinity. It has been such a bad word where they made it, demonized it, and made it almost a slur that you call someone. No, masculinity is the ability to have power and strength and then to keep it under wraps. It is when you want to lash out and be violent, you restrain yourself. It is your ability to be kind and empathetic and sympathetic. It is your being polite in mixed company. It's being polite to just in any way, in any society, is just to be polite and kind, to open doors, to show your son or your daughter this is what a man should, how he should treat his wife and his family.
Right.
That's masculinity. Masculinity is not beating your chest and saying I'm the alpha male. The most effective alpha males, the most effective masculine men, are the most quiet, are the ones that don't pound their chest, that don't drive their Bugattis, they're just like, this is me, I'm under control, and I know what my life mission is, and I know what I need to be resolved. I need to have resolve for. That's masculinity.
Exactly.
That's what we need. And we need men like us to say it. And not only just, we need to walk the walk, but we also have to be bold in the way we talk. The days of allowing this transgender ideology inside God's houses of worship. The idea, do you remember the woman, the bishop that talked down to President Trump? Right now, we find out that bishop, that exact bishop, was receiving $53 million in aid from the federal government. That's how perverse we have become as a nation. We are the #1 consumer of child pornography in the world. We're the #1 consumer of hard narcotics in the world. We're the one of the top 5 nations on planet Earth that pays money to rape children. We are the #1 producer and exporter of pornography in the world. America, you must look yourself in the mirror and understand that you are the problem. It's not the Mexican cartels. It's you, America. We are the sinners. We are the problems. We have got to stand up.
JJ, to your listeners out there, if anyone's against President Trump wanting to change the NEA, taking it back down to the state's educational level, that's where it needs to be. Because once the federal took over our educational system, we really lost a lot of that control. One of the worst things that Bush ever did was he opened up the No Child Left Behind Act. Well, by leaving no child behind means those kids that could advance did not advance at the levels they could have. It was totally taken out of context. It was a Pollyanna type decision of, oh, we're going to make sure every child reaches their goals, but not the way it's set up. And we're starting to see that, I think, and hopefully that's going to change for educational systems as well. Hey, I got one quick one for you, talking about this with the ideologies and things. Today, when you and I were in sports and a coach said, hey, stud, how you doing? Called us a stud. That was a compliment, right? Well, I learned something. Here's a new vocabulary word I didn't realize. So one of my dudes was doing a good job. I said, man, I look great, stud. He goes, stud? I'm not a stud. I was like, yeah, don't you want to be? He said, no, coach. Don't you know what a stud is? I was like, well, not in my time or world. A stud, that's a great compliment. What are you talking about? He says, coach, a stud is a girl trying to look like a guy. I was like, oh my goodness.
Come on, man. Bad. I remember when girls used to say that guy is a stud. You're like, yeah, I'm a stud. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Oh, that's a transgender term, man. I mean, who comes up with this? Why are they changing our vocabulary?
You know what? That just makes me, man. Doug, that just pisses me off to no core. Now I'm gonna have more resolve than ever. You take away the stud? Are you kidding me? That was the greatest compliment back in the 80s.
Hey, and you're still a stud, baby. Don't let anybody tell you different. All right?
You just keep pumping me up, Doug. Good job. Hey, Argo, thank you. Great talk. Thank you very much.
Love you,
have
brother.
a good week.
Can't wait for another one.
All right, man. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Doug Argo. I love Doug. I just do. I remember my grandmother, she's the long past, but she and my mom loved Doug. He was like the greatest guy in the world. And he is. He's the greatest guy. A great example of a father and husband, a male masculine leader, not only in his church, but in his school and his coaching. You know, guys that played sports, even girls that play sports, you know, when you have a great coach, it just stays with you. It has an impact on your life. That's Doug Argo. I love having him on. Unapologetic, Christian, believes in his faith. You don't believe in it, that's fine. Don't cross over into my world, because I'm going to protect my world. And if my world gets anywhere threatened, I'm going to attack you. That's the guy I go to war with. That's the guy I go side by side down a dark alley and just say, you know what, if this guy's going to hurt me, if these guys are going to attack us, let's make sure they never, ever forget that they ran into us. Great guy. Great guy. Again, please go to our sponsors, Pet Club 24/7. I talked to a guy today. I was on his podcast, Alpha Warrior. Great guy. January 6er, talked about him earlier. And he uses Pet Club 24/7. I know it's crazy. Pet Club 24/7. You think, oh, it's pets. No, it's pets, horses, and humans. I love that tagline because it's about this very special mushroom in Japan. It's all natural. It's God's way, and it's natural. I use it. I use this right here. I take this all the time right before I go on the Worldview tube, and it's natural. My dog eats it. Eats the mushroom in a dog treat. Incredible. She loves it. Cinnamon. My dog Cinnamon loves it. But Alpha Warrior was telling me about, and he calls it the blue bottle. It's for clarity, and he swears by it. I don't know if Logan, if you can find that on the website and pull it up, but I purchased it. I'm waiting for it to come in. It's for clarity. And he goes, it's unbelievable. He goes, people are actually calling me or DMing me and saying, hey, dude, your skin looks different. You just look different. What are you doing? He goes, I'm taking a blue, he calls it the blue bottle. I take the blue bottle, and it's changed it. It's changed the way. And so he's so passionate that I said, okay, I'm gonna buy it. You say it, I'm gonna buy it. I'm gonna do it. Pet Club 24/7, truthwithjj247.com, truthwithjj247, and the husband and wife are awesome. They own the company, Kurt and Kristen. They own the company. Again, Kurt looks like he's around my age. His wife has they have an 18-year-old, 17, 19-year-old children. She looks like must have been pregnant when she was 7, because she's about 24 years old, 25 years old, right? That's what she looks like, because she takes all these products. It's natural. We don't need anything but God's natural order. That's the truth. Again, God didn't create the earth and said, well, we'll wait for 2,000 years when Moderna and Pfizer show up. No, I don't think that's what he did. I think he put everything on planet Earth that we need. Sure, we can have some synthetic stuff that helps us, and I'm sure and God had a hand in that as well, I'm sure. I know. But we have everything we need here on Earth the way it is. Pet Club 24/7. And then the last one I want to talk about is sat123.com. sat123.com/JJ. Ballistic backpack for my son. I got a sat phone sitting right in front of me. I have a Bivy, B-I-V-Y, that's attached to my phone. It gives me everything I need to create my phone into a sat phone. I'm never going to be out of reach of anyone. More important, out of reach of my family. You don't think that this can happen? You don't think that cell towers can burn to the ground, melt? Go ask Pacific Palisades. Go ask the people in Maui. Go ask the people in North Carolina that still live in squalor because of our FEMA. And now Trump's trying to build it back up months after it. Again, everything you need to get ready and be prepared is on this website, sat123.com. You don't think bad things are going to happen? We're entering another phase of this war. I'm not fear-mongering. I'm not trying to be dramatic. I'm just telling you what I know. I'm looking at all the telltale signs in the world and in America. Those leftist, lunatic mental patients are not going to give up this fight. Will they fight us and do violent things? Yes, they will. Because they have been allowed to be violent for decades and we have done nothing. The time to match that violence with force is now. If any Antifa comes near me, I will destroy them single-handedly. I don't need anyone else to help me. Just leave me alone and get out of my way. And we need to be able to be ready and be prepared for things like this and talk like this. Have discussions like Doug Argo and I have about God, knowing that you are absolutely sinful, that I'm not saying you, I'm talking about you in terms of me, that I am sinful, that I am not worthy of any grace or blessings from God. However, we must talk about them because he has been removed from our society. The founding fathers, I did a project with my sons in the Boy Scouts. And one of the projects was the Constitution, going through it. And I'm reading this Constitution again and again, and we're going through all the amendments and Bill of Rights and the Declaration of Independence. And I'm like, wow, look at these men. And there's divine providence and God and everything. God is interlaid amongst all of our founding documents. He's all over them. Because our founding fathers were intellectual and spiritual giants. I don't care if we have a cell phone. I don't care if we have access to information. We are not even on the same playing field. We're not even in the stadium with them on their intellect. We are so far out. Our founding fathers were mental giants. They created a form of government never before even thought about, and infused God, as they said to us. This form of government can only exist by a Christian, God-fearing people. That's it. That's it. Why? Because the people run the government, not the government run the people. And the people have to be morally centered. They have to believe in a God. They have to believe in when they do wrong, they will go to hell. And that is the checks and balances of our nation. We run the government. If you become immoral, if you become sexually perverse and deviant, if you believe men can go into women's sports and kill women, literally and figuratively, it's okay to mutilate children's genitals. They don't even know if they want Fruit Loops or Cheerios. They don't know if they want milk, chocolate milk, or orange juice. They go to Halloween, they change their costume 6-7 times, and you're telling me at 7 years old you're giving them puberty blockers and you're ripping off their genitals? We live in a sick, perverse world, and you better get in the ball game. You better choose a side. It's very clear who you're going for. You're either for the left that is full of death, hate, and destruction, or you're over here on the right. There is no middle ground. There is no gray anymore. There is no more sitting it out. There's no more meeting in the middle. Where am I going to meet someone in the middle? As a staunch Catholic, Christian, conservative, when it comes to abortion, they want to abort the baby as the head comes out of the vaginal canal, and they want to shunt the brain right there and kill it. Am I supposed to meet them at 4.5 months? That's what you're telling me, right? Meet them halfway. You want the border? I want the border completely secure. They want to leave it open. Am I supposed to build the wall halfway, just have half the border have Border Patrol agents and let it else just go to hell? Am I supposed to meet you halfway and not give USAID 40, 50 billion, but give them 20, 25 billion? That's okay? I'm supposed to allow you not to mutilate children's genitals at 5 or 10, so I'm going to meet you halfway and go to 7.5? Where am I supposed to meet you with transgender men teaching in our schools? One-on-one education with my child. So where am I supposed to meet you there? My son is supposed to go into a room with a transgender man that has no idea about his sexuality. It's so perverse, it's made him crazy. And I'm going to let my son go in a room with him? How long? I say 0. You say an hour. So I'm supposed to allow that freak to be in a room with my child for 30 minutes? No, not going to happen. You don't believe in law and order? You want the police defund the police? Can you imagine that was actually a chant to defund the police? Where do I meet you halfway on that? I don't meet you halfway. Be bold in what you believe in. Understand what you believe in and articulate what you believe in, and never, ever, ever apologize for it. Never. Never. They're an atheist. Get out. Get away from me. You don't believe in God? Fine. You're not going to trample my rights. I believe in God. I believe in God's order. It's all around us. If you can't see that, I feel sorry for you. And I will talk to you as long as you want me to talk to you about God and the belief that I have. But if you're going to hoist your atheist, narcissistic, sexually perverse world onto me, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to allow it. And because many remain silent for decades, this world, his inauguration speech has to make the declarative statement that there are only two genders. That was, do you know how sad that was? Do you they're going to look back on us and they're going to mock us more than the Salem witch trials? They're going to mock us. I'm going to show this one clip. Can you show this? Can we go, Logan, all the way to the end where I have "This is normal, common sense, trumps and girls sports"? Yeah. Can you just play this clip? I think this is powerful. It's just powerful to see.
You know, if you'd like to gather around me, I think I'm going to be all right. Come on. Come on. Secret Service is worried about them. If we have to worry about them, we have big problems. Okay, do you want to have a film? Do you want to do this? Watch I do, and then I'm going to give you some pens. All right? You ready? What a nice picture this is, huh, Governor? You ready? We'll do a good job. Wait, let me press that. I want to make this a really good signature because this is, you know, this is a big one, right? Oh, I think we have a 10. We have a 10.
God bless you, Mr. President.
Pretty good, huh? Okay? Good. Now you're going to go
you can
out
cut
and
it
win
at
those
that,
events, right?
Logan. That was beautiful. Do you see those beautiful young little girls? Beautiful young little girls. And you want them to play boys in sports? Why would you do that? As a father, why would you allow that to happen? You want your beautiful little girls, those beautiful little girls, to share bathrooms with boys and showers with boys? Are you insane? And look at the difference between this alpha male father, grandfather figure, that everyone is safe. Think about what we just left 2 weeks and 3 days ago. Not 2 years, not 20 years ago, 2 weeks and 3 days, you had a pedophile president. He would have been groping those children. He would have molested them. He would have sniffed them, licked them, kissed them, touched them inappropriately. That is what we just ran from. Before I leave, I want to ask, this is a favor. We're trying to grow this channel. We're trying to grow our reach. Please, if you can, go to givesendgo.com/JJ Carrell. Givesendgo.com/JJ Carrell. We are in for a war, the war for the soul of the United States of America. That is a prize worth fighting for.
Welcome to Technocracy News with your host, Patrick Wood. I am Logan House. Today,